to 15 and counting. Touchdown Alabama's premier football show live from inside of Rama Jammas. I'm your host, Stephen M. Smith, and alongside me I have my partners in crime, Ivan White and Max Ortega. Fellas, how you guys today?
Doing good, doing good.
Well guys, with the hustle and bustle of students, faculty, and staff returning on campus for the first full week of school, this can only mean one thing.
More bucks.
True, I'll take that back. It can actually mean two things. School is back, which means more books, and college football is back as well. We have an outstanding slate of games that will come on this weekend. We'll get to that in a minute. But the main thing that Alabama fans are concerned with is the game that's coming up on Saturday, August 31st, 2013, in the Peach State for Georgia Dome in Atlanta, between the #1 Alabama Crimson Tide and the Virginia Tech Hokies. Fellas, this will be the third time since 2008 that Alabama will take on a team from the ACC. They took on Clemson in 2008 and won handily 34-10. And they took on Virginia Tech in 2009. Virginia Tech at that time had a quarterback by the name of Tyrod Taylor. And of course, the Hokies kept it close for the fourth quarter, but behind quarterback player Greg McElroy, receiver Julio Jones, and running back Mark Ingram, Bama pulled away late in the fourth quarter to win 34-24. But in this game right here, starting off with you, Maxwell, what do you see in this Alabama-Virginia Tech matchup?
Wow, what do I see in this matchup? I see another Tide easy victory, really.
Are you serious?
There's no other way I can put that. With all the returning starters on defense and offense, including A.J. McCarron, Alabama's two-time national championship starting quarterback, there's really nowhere but up for the Alabama Crimson Tide to go through this season. And really, the Virginia Tech comes off a 7-6 season, even though they had a win in the bowl game. I mean, where did they really go back? They had returned their starter, Logan Thomas as their quarterback. Frank Beamer is, of course, there to coach special teams, not much of anything else. But there just doesn't seem like Virginia Tech has enough to amass itself in offense or defensive side of the ball to beat the Tide.
It's an interesting statement that you bring up Coach Beamer here, Max. Well, Coach Beamer is going into his 26th year as head coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies. Now, when Virginia Tech came to the ACC in 2004, they had 8 10-plus win seasons. Now, last year was the unfortunate season. The Hokies went 7-6 behind the careless play of quarterback Logan Thomas. He had 16 interceptions. Some of that was probably due from the weight gain he had in the offseason. Logan Thomas picked up an extra 20 pounds, which put his playing weight from 240 to 260, which kind of hampered his mobility. With that being said, though, still, the Virginia Tech Hokies are a team that plays with a lot of pride and a lot of dignity and a lot of passion. Going into this game against Alabama, Ivan, what do you think will be the 5 things that Virginia Tech must excel in if they want to at least keep the game close?
They have to control the tempo of the game, first of all. Alabama's, that's what they've done over the past since they started this mini dynasty they've got going on right now. And all they've done is control the tempo of every game. They keep running, and then just when you think they're going to run it again, they do. And then you think they're going to run it again, play action, Amari Cooper downfield for an easy touchdown.
And that's one of the statements that had to play up on Amari Cooper. But what does Logan Thomas have to do in this game? Because this is his team. He has to become a man in this game. I know it's silly for some people to say that one game can make or break a season, but this is the notion for Virginia Tech. So Ivan, what must Logan Thomas do in this game to really show that he's a capable quarterback?
I mean, he has to step his game up. From last season, A.J. McCarron, national title winning quarterback, first in player quarterback efficiency, 90th for Logan Thomas, out of 100 qualified FBS quarterbacks. He did throw more yards than AJ last year, but AJ threw 30 touchdowns compared to Logan Thomas' 18. The numbers don't add up correctly. Logan Thomas will be better than what he is right now, but we're just gonna have to see if he actually finally steps up and puts Virginia Tech back on the map.
And to add on to Logan Thomas, the yardage percentage, really, A.J. McCarron didn't play a lot of, at the second half of games and the beginning of the year. I mean, look at our first beginning schedule. We had Michigan, but we beat them so bad that he really came out in the fourth quarter. We had Florida Atlantic as our second game, and we really just put the pounding on them in the first 2 quarters, and A.J. McCarron sat out those left 2. We're really trying to start to see, and we'll probably see it this year, a lot of quarterback rotation A.J. McCarron will play a lot of the first games as the starting quarterback, but I think Saban is starting to head into that transition year that will be 2014, and where we'll see our next Alabama starting quarterback. So we're going to see a lot of Blake Sims. We'll probably see a lot of Alec Morris. I don't think we'll see any of the freshman rookies that were recruited in this class, so as Cooper Bateman or Patrick McLeod.
Or Luke Del Rio.
Luke Del Rio. But we will see a lot of Blake Sims and Alec Morris. Will they be our starting quarterbacks in the future? We don't know. I think that's what this season really is what will be found out about.
Going back to Logan Thomas, guys, he had a phenomenal freshman year. He passed over 3,000 yards, had 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Man, the Hokies too, the Sugar Bowl against Michigan. And in my defense, I feel like the Hokies won the Sugar Bowl, but somehow they still think Danny Cole created the ball in the back of the end zone instead of catching the ball. But anyway, outside of Logan Thomas and defending Amari Cooper, what about the running game of Virginia Tech? Their offensive line has got to open the holes for their backs to get down the field. In games past, the success to beat Alabama is running the football for 100 plus yards or so. So what must the offensive line of Frank Beamer and the Hokies must do to push the Alabama defensive line, which is highly talented, off the ball to open up those running lanes?
Realize you're not playing Duke or Georgia Tech. You're playing an SEC opponent, not just any SEC opponent, the reigning defending SEC champion team in Alabama Crimson Tide. This is not your everyday team. Ask Notre Dame, ask Georgia. This isn't your normal team that you're going to be facing this year. Even with a revamped offensive line, this is like a powerhouse. They'll get boys from practice squad, bring it back out to the field and say play, and they'll play the butts off that game.
Truthfully, as another thing about the offensive line with the running game, there's really no real running game at Virginia Tech that is of any purpose. Yes, they are returning a starting running back, but really he didn't amass those yards for them. Really, they're looking for Logan Thomas, and I know that we're bringing this up again, but Logan Thomas really is that running back for that team. He amasses the most rushing yards for the past 2 seasons he's been there. And the fact that he's the quarterback also brings in that leadership position. But for the offensive line, they're starting a true freshman at left tackle, which he's earned that job and he's very highly touted at that. But again, you're going against Alabama, the 2-time defending champion. That's never happened in the BCS era. You're going up against Nick Saban, 3 out of 4 here at Alabama, a new national title in LSU. This is a very, very tall task for them to handle as the first game coming right out of the gate. Frank Beamer has already addressed that, saying that this Alabama team is better than the one that he had faced. Well, not the Alabama team, the Miami team that he had faced in 2001, which was headlined with a bunch of NFL talent.
Including Michael Vick.
Yes, including Michael.
But it's amazing y'all mentioned Logan Thomas running the football. The second best runner on the Virginia Tech Hokies happens to be J.C. Coleman. Don't know if Coleman will play in this game. He's been bothered by an ankle sprain. He's playing ankle sprain during this whole week, so wondering if he will be able to play in the opener against Alabama. But along with the offensive line of Alabama, they do return Cyrus Kouandjio, Ari Kouandjio, Anthony Steen, and Ryan Kelly, who was esteemed by Barrett Jones, an All-American during the SEC title game of this past season. Barrett Jones told reporters Ryan Kelly is going to be the next best thing to come to Alabama, which has a huge statement coming from Barrett Jones, an All-American, an SEC champion, a BCS champion, and has played in 3 different positions in his tenure in Alabama. Now, Barrett Jones has now been with the St. Louis Rams. But going back to the guys we have here, the Kouandjio brothers, Ryan Kelly and Anthony Steen, what mentality do these guys bring back to this offensive line, seeing that they've been mentored by guys like Barrett Jones, DJ Fluker, and Chance Warmack?
Well, you've got to go through what this offensive line means to the University of Alabama. We're a power running team. We've always been a power running team since all the way back since Barry Bryant and Wallace Wade were the coaches. Now, what the new O-line has to do is really what the old O-line has to do, and that's what the history of Alabama really expects. Now, you're retaining Steen at the guard position, and you're retaining Kouandjio, the younger one, at the guard position. But the other 3 new starters in the O-line have been in the system for 2 years. They know the blocking schemes. They've also been in Mama a lot during their tenure at the university. So I just think they just need a little bit more chemistry and time to gel. But there really are no real concerns to me about this offensive line. They're very well coached. They have a very good O-line coordinator, and Mark Cristobal from FIU, actually. And they do a very great job and already showing their signs of dominance already at 8A, where really AJ was not really touched by any of the defensive players, even though it was spring practice. At these scrimmages, we've always really stretched on the idea of keeping and protecting AJ and the other running backs. And really, what's really not to like about these 5 individuals, they're fairly highly talented recruits. They've obviously made an impression on Coach Saban and the other staff members, and they might be one of the best to ever come out of this system, especially going into the 2014 year, where all of them will be retained for the next year run, including with that new quarterback. So really, this is just a trial year for the new offensive line. This is the year when they get their feet wet and start to go and push forward into a higher standard than what DJ Fluker, Chance Warmack, and Barrett Jones officiated for.
That's an outstanding statement of the statistical situation you brought up there, Maxwell. But going off of Alabama's offensive line to Virginia Tech's defensive line, Ivan, we've seen last season where A.J. McCarron wasn't really pressured a lot because he had the offensive lineup of Warmack and Jones and DJ Fluker. But this game right here against Bud Foster's Virginia Tech defense, our defensive coordinator Bud Foster has had some pretty impressive defenses in the past of guys like Cam Chancellor, who played from who started playing from 2006 to 2009. But this season, this game right here for Bud Foster, going up against a highly talented Alabama offense and a highly efficient quarterback in A.J. McCarron, what must the Bud Foster defense at Virginia Tech do to get pressure on McCarron, not just pressure him, but get some green on that crimson jersey?
What he's going to have to do is send these exotic blitzes, more pro-style blitzes. This is a minor league professional team in Alabama. No doubt about it. They're the best team in college football right now. The only way you're going to do it is confusing them is not a very easy job. You send exotic blitzes. You saw it in the A&M game. They didn't send exotic blitzes, but they kept AJ on his toes most of that game, and that was the one game we lost last season because of that reason. AJ wasn't sitting in the pocket most of the game, keeping that crimson jersey white. Like he said, you got to get him a little run around the pocket. He can throw someone on the run, but you always got to make sure if you get AJ run out the pocket, stay in your zones if you're Virginia Tech, because Amari Cooper's always lingering back there in the end.
And it's not just Amari Cooper, it multiplies. It's Amari Cooper, it's Kenny Bell, it's DeAndrew Wyatt, it's Kevin Norwood, the third down chain mover. They finally brought in Raheem Falcons, a very impressive freshman, Chris Black, who will now get his chance to shine after separating his shoulder and camp last season. So the receiving talent for Alabama has multiplied. So Virginia Tech is going to have to get pressure on A.J. McCarron, because if not, if he has even the slightest second to throw that football, there is a touchdown, there's a huge gain in the making. But also with Virginia Tech's ability to try to pressure McCarron, you have running backs for Alabama. They always have kept the stable of running backs from Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, Eddie Lacy, to now you have T.J. Yeldon, who put on a show last season, over 1,000 yards rushing, set Mark Ingram's freshman touchdown record at 12 last season, with over 100 yards in the Michigan game last year. What must Virginia Tech do defensively? We're talking about defensive line and linebackers to stop the run. Because you have Yeldon, you have Derrick Henry, you have Justin Fowler, you have D. Hart, who could probably give it another go this season. What must Virginia Tech do here?
Well, you got to put the big bodies up front in the defensive line stage. You got to plug up the run holes. And really, that's really hard to do when all the blocking schemes at Alabama seems to be a rotation of a 3 to 2. Now, they're going to have 3 linemen up front and the airlines on the 2 sides where they like to run the sweep plays. But really, they've got to find a way to just contain the run. They're not going to be able to stop the run. That's always a thing with Alabama. The run is going to happen. You've just got to see if you can contain it. Now, the thing about Alabama this year is the wide receiving unit, and they're going to be able to put up a bunch of points because of all the players that they have at this skill position. And it's not just regular SEC talent wide receivers. No, these are NFL capable receivers.
You're putting a staple on the Maxwell already?
Putting a staple. I mean, they're fantastic. They all have very great hands, and they can all get out in space. Just well coached receivers on this Alabama team. And I think that's really understated right now. But when the season starts, I think this receiving core is really going to shine.
I think it will shine definitely Maxwell. And then when you get to the nitty gritty, what Frank Beamer loves to do, he's been this way for 26 years into his Virginia Tech career as a head coach. It's Beamer ball, it's special teams, it's punt returns, it's kicking, it's punt blocks, it's making sure that every facet of special teams, which is somewhat become a lost art of the game of football, but Frank Beamer and the Virginia Tech Hope is doing exceptionally well. Ivan, what must Virginia Tech do on special teams to keep it close, whether it be a punt block, a field goal block, a made field goal? How can they keep control of field position?
Get great field position on special teams. As you saw in the SEC title game last year, Alabama is susceptible to fake punts, as they did in the SEC title game Georgia did against Alabama. You also got to make sure, even if you get not even a touchdown, get some points on the board every time you touch the ball. That's the key to beating Alabama. A&M did that for the first quarter back here in Tuscaloosa during A&M game. You have to make sure you get points every single time you get the ball. As long as you do that, you can at least slow down the monster.
It's funny you mentioned points, Ivan, because according to the boys in Vegas, in Las Vegas, they have the point spread on this actual game this Saturday. And the point spread is between 18 and 19 and a half points. We're going to say a 20-point spread in favor of Alabama. Now, that's a huge spread there. So, with that being said, Maxwell, do you think Alabama covers the spread, or do you think Virginia Tech plays it close and kind of shocks the world?
No, they cover the spread easily. My prediction for this game has got to be 49-9.
49? Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. Really, Virginia Tech just does not have the firepower to contain the Alabama offense or the offensive firepower to even successfully attack the Alabama defense. Really, they're not really returning anybody at a skill position that really makes a big mark for this team. And at the same time, you have to think Coach Beamer is just going to really thrive off of these special team plays. He is a master of the special teams art. There's nobody who does it better. He leads the NCAA in special teams efficiency for the past 8 years. But I think they'll get the 3 field goals, and I don't think they'll score a touchdown. I don't believe in Logan Thomas's ability to actually come and play for this game, even though every player and opponent usually comes to play for Alabama. I just don't think Logan Thomas has the confidence to go right up against the game, against the best team in college football, probably in the past 10 years.
Even with new quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, Scott Neffler, former coordinator of Auburn, you don't think he's going to have any effect on helping Logan Thomas in this game?
Not in the first game, but definitely over the season. I think Virginia Tech will mature. But right now, they're way too young and way too green to go against this really, really talented Alabama team. And it's not just because of freshmen and sophomores, it's because of the juniors and seniors on the team. I mean, C.J. Mosley is their defensive captain. What do you think of that?
C.J. Mosley is definitely a phenomenal player. Very quick linebacker, can play sideline to sideline, can shoot the gap, very instinctive, and can play coverage surprisingly well for a linebacker of his size. But that'll be Maxwell's prediction, 49-9. We'll take it to Ivan Wyoming here. Ivan, what's your prediction for this game?
It's just as rough, but I'll go a little bit friendlier. I'll say national title score 42-14. I'm just saying right now.
We're in the 40s right now?
We're in the 40s right now. I'm just saying, if they were facing Alabama, maybe after an A&M game, maybe in the middle of the SEC slate, this is the first game of the season. Saban will not kick off the season with a blemish on his record. They are all focused on A&M, yes, but it's one game at a time. 2 days after the national title game, Saban said it during the post-game press conference. It's on to the next season, on to the next game. This is their team. This is their year. This is not last year anymore. They are focused on Virginia Tech, and they're going to make sure the NCAA takes notice on who they are and what they're going to do.
It's always the process of head coach Nick Saban, but I guess now is the time to make my prediction. I'm not going to be in the 40s. I'm going to actually say Alabama will win the football game. I'm going to go with 38-7. I think that Logan Thomas and Virginia Tech coaches will get a score on Alabama's second team defense if the second team defense plays in this ball game. So my prediction will be 38-7 in favor of the Crimson Tide. But that game will be on Saturday, August 31st, 2013 via ESPN at about 5:30 Eastern Time, which makes it 4:30 Central Time here. But that's for the Alabama-Virginia Tech. We're getting